Long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to Outta My League. I'm Nick Diaz. So it's amazing to me how people don't really see success next to them when the person or a group of people that are being successful is very similar or identical to them. If you see someone that's very much like you being successful, well, it would kind of behoove you to look at them and say, well, gee, I wonder what they're doing. Maybe I should copy that. This perfectly sums up Nebraska football. Now, I'll be the first one to admit that I thought Scott Frost would be way more successful at Nebraska than he has been. I didn't think he was going to be Nick Saban like some people said he would be, but I thought he would be way better than this because he's a good recruiter and he ran a gimmicky system of offense that makes up for a lack of talent, which the state of Nebraska regionally does not have in high school football. And the argument that I've heard is, well, Scott Frost is trying to do things the way they were in 1997 Nebraska, and that can't work in 2021. Well, that's not why Scott Frost is failing at Nebraska, or why Nebraska has been failing the past two coaches they've had. Scott Frost and Nebraska are failing because they are not doing what made Nebraska successful from 1970 to 2001. Nebraska can't be relevant in college football anymore. Really. So what is the difference between Nebraska and Wisconsin in the shape of the college landscape? What's the difference? They're both in the Midwest, and they both don't have good high school football talent. Matter of fact, they have terrible high school football talent in their region. Barry Alvarez, the former Wisconsin coach from 1990 to 2005, and he was the AD up until last year, he played at Nebraska, and he took Nebraska's system of developing players, and he used it from the time he was a coach to the time he made his athletic director hires for his next football coaches. And their system still stands today and works in Wisconsin in 2021. And it's run the ball, play defense. Now, I'll grant you, they're not as successful as Nebraska was all those years. But stop telling me Nebraska can't win. Nebraska has a bigger athletic budget and much, much less of an academic hurdle than Wisconsin does. That's pretty much what it comes down to, that and local recruiting. But Wisconsin, the difference between them and Nebraska the past 10 years is Wisconsin sticks to their strength. Run the ball, play defense. Everyone thinks you need to go up-tempo spread today, which I disagree, and I'll tell you why. Bruce Feldman was on Ryan Russillo's podcast last week. They were previewing college football, and he was telling a story about Brian Kelly, about how Brian Kelly, the Notre Dame head coach, he had a come-to-Jesus moment a few years ago. I think it was 2015 or 16. They were coming off of a losing season, and he looked at himself in the mirror, and he said, we got to change. And they changed by saying, what are we good at? What are we good at? We're great regionally at developing offensive linemen, tight ends, and some linebackers. That's what the Midwest produces. So they said, we're going to stop running the spread because we don't produce great skill players. Wide receivers, running backs, with the exception being tight end. We don't have great safeties, corners. We are going to be a ground and pound old school football team. And he changed. He changed to actually going backwards so Notre Dame can consistently go forward. Wisconsin has done the same thing, except they've never changed. Wisconsin is better because they play to their strengths. And sure, they have a better coach, and I know this because Blake Martinez, the Nebraska quarterback, his mechanics have gotten worse. His freshman year was awesome. His throwing motion now, though, has gotten worse. His footwork has gotten worse. His confidence has decreased. That's coaching. And I know more because Nebraska has had 4 straight top 25 recruiting classes, and they're getting worse. Look at the line of scrimmage against Illinois. Nebraska early on was dominating them. They were bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic. Yet Illinois, over time, won the game because Illinois outcoached them. Think about Nebraska, though, for a second. Think about every time Nebraska has been successful in the past 20 years. Every time they've been successful, it's been run the ball, play defense. This is after Tom Osborne. Frank Solich, Bo Pelini, they're two most successful coaches since Tom Osborne. What do? Run the ball, and they play defense. Bill Callahan and Mike Riley and Scott Frost, the least successful coaches they've had since Tom Osborne retired. What did Bill Callahan do? West Coast ball, air it out. Mike Riley, West Coast ball, pass first, air it out. Scott Frost, spread, up-tempo offense. They need to go backwards in time to go forward. Baseball needs, it's kind of like what I say about baseball. Baseball needs to be successful today by going backwards in time, by getting rid of the analytics and increasing the pace of play. That's the issue. Analytics have destroyed that. Baseball actually needs to go backwards to their style of play if they want to continue to go forward. And Nebraska football needs to do the same thing. Success means not only looking at yourself, but looking at others similar to you and saying, hey, we should do that. Thanks for listening to Out of My League. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow me on Twitter and Facebook in the description link below.